So here's 5 fantasy quarterbacks I'm sitting on the bench this week in fantasy football. The first guy's Matt Ryan in the Atlanta Falcons. He's got the Carolina Panthers coming up this week, and Ryan, his last outing versus the Panthers, he didn't do much. So this week, I don't think he's going to do much either. Yeah, he has Julio this time. But Matt Ryan, he's an up-and-down quarterback in fantasy this year. The Falcons, I believe, don't even believe in him that much. So Ryan, if I would stay away from him, if I have better options on the bench, I just don't see it having a big game on the road. That Atlanta offense always runs different. Historically, over Ryan's career, he's better at home. So if I could steer away from him, I will. That Panther D gives up the 28th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So they're playing well versus quarterbacks, even though we saw Drew Brees last week with 27 fantasy points. But I don't think Ryan will get there. He'll get to about 18 to 20 at most, which is still a decent day. But I don't see him having those high-end great numbers for a fantasy quarterback. The second guy I'm benching is Ryan Tannehill. He's just a guy I don't trust, to be honest with you. Yeah, he's had some big 30-point games over the last few weeks. Now he goes to Cincinnati. But I could see this ball game with Derrick Henry. He just runs all over the Bengals for a monster outing for Henry. So I don't think Ryan Tannehill will do that much in this game. I could see him getting anywhere from 15 to 18. So don't expect that 30-point plus game out of Tannehill this week. And he's a guy I'm looking to trade away too if I got him in my league. So I'm putting him on the bench this week. I just don't see the big game, like I said, for Tannehill. They're going to run the ball more, and they're going to keep it conservative for the most part. The third quarterback I'm going to sit on the bench this week, and you should have dropped him if anything too, is Cam Newton. The last few weeks, he's just done nothing. Maybe it was having the virus affected his energy and his clarity, but I don't know. But Cam Newton, the last 2 weeks, he's looked horrible, throwing balls into the ground, not hitting his receivers, not accurate, throwing interceptions. So Cam Newton, I'm going to stay away from him this week. And his matchup is decent on paper, but I just don't see him getting it done versus Buffalo. Quarterbacks have had the 6th most fantasy points versus the Bills, but I don't see Newton as a top 12 quarterback this week. So I'm going to sit him on my bench. The fourth guy is Matthew Stafford of the Detroit Lions. He's got the Indianapolis Colts coming up, and Stafford had a decent game. You would have expected more out of him last week versus Atlanta, but he only had a middle-of-the-pack fantasy day from the quarterback. Stafford, he's got some decent weapons with Kenny Golladay and Swift out of the backfield, but this Colt defense is pretty good versus quarterbacks. They gave up the 31st least fantasy points to quarterbacks, I believe. So it might be tough sledding for the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford, even though he's home this week and he's got the weapons, like I said. But he's a guy I'm going to sit on my bench. And the fifth and final quarterback on the bench this week is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. I see a lot of teams ran out there before the free agent period even happened this week, and he's 20% owned now. But Tua's got a very tough matchup versus a great Los Angeles Rams defense. And in his first career start, I don't see Tua doing much in this ball game. The Rams, they're going to try to get to the rookie early and often, hit him to the ground, get him down. Tua, he can maybe save his fantasy day with a couple rushes. But I think that whole Miami offense takes a hit with Tua behind center, and especially versus a vicious defense like the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm staying away from Tua Tagovailoa, and I'm putting him on the bench this week. I'm going to project him only anywhere from 14 to 18 points, and that's not going to be enough to help you win this week in your fantasy football league. So that's 5 quarterbacks I'm staying away from and benching this week, as week 8 is going to be on your way in fantasy football.